Good evening, everyone. Have you been abroad before? Your home country? Yes, I was been abroad from my home 3 times. First time I was been abroad in Turkey when I was 9 years old. I moved with my parents and I was 9 years old. Moved to the Montgomery, Alabama. I was staying there 1 year because my father's business work to the academy. I was studying the elementary school, and after 1 year later, I returned to Turkey. I stayed there 4 years. After that, when I was 14 in 2004, and I was second time abroad from my home country, and I moved to my parents and Herzliya, Israel. My father's work and my schools in Tel Aviv, but I lived in Herzliya, Israel. I studied the high school. After 2 years later, when I was 17, I returned to Turkey, and I was staying there in my home country 2 years and a half. When I was 21, I was abroad from Turkey third time, and I came to the Little Rock, Arkansas. I came to the here, Arkansas, January 11, 2011. It was almost since 6 years past I was living in now. When I had started my year in University of Arkansas at Little Rock, I had a major adjustment issues concerning group dialogues, group activities, and communication generally. I was used to speaking my own language with the environment that I have been used to. Even thought I had lived abroad prior to coming to Little Rock. I saw the university environment and activities contain much issues complex. I want to take a moment for someone in the audience tell me some of the feelings you might experience if you were to enter a new cultural environment. I imagine not knowing anyone, and the situation is compounded by communication barriers. Feel free to relate it story in your own life. Yes.
Uh, I have been through that situation before, as you know as well. When I went abroad with my family, uh, I had major cultural shock issues as well as social issues, problems as well. Because when you're a small kid, your friendship is everything, and when you get separated from your friends, it feels like your world has been devastated and it has been crashed down. And when you go into a new culture, like me going from Turkey to Israel, it was a very different situation because Israel has a very different culture from Turkey in terms of society and political as well. Their understanding of family, their understanding of having fun, their understanding of even eating food was different. And this, in some way, created uh, not a complete shock, but for like an adjustment issue that you have been talking about.
Good. I agree with you. Okay, let's continue. When someone enters into a new environment, especially into a different culture, they may experience disorientation, which is a cultural shock. The different work ethics or the different attitudes of people may throw the people outside of the group, which will make communication and adjustment much difficult. What I will propose to the people who face adjustment issues when they face culture shock is the same thing that I have done. Even though culture shock is a major effect in individual's life, it is a temporary phenomenon. While using shared information of background with others, merging cultural differences, I believe is another way to increase intercultural communication level. Communication is problem fragments that go through cultural shock and adjustment process after. When I considered all of the problems that I have faced as a foreigner, I decided to search and show a way to make others understand the problems. The problems of communication into a new environment and culture. And welcome to my final presentation. And my name is Faruk Yalcin. I am an applied communication at the University of Arkansas at Little Rock, and I'm a senior student. I'm credible to speak on this because my lived experiences and the courses and I took in the school. Considering all of the difficulties people go to do to brain migration, I would like to discuss both the reason behind their decision, but also focus on more how they survive afterwards. That is to say, how their change affected their identity, their communication, and their life basically. My current research context centers around the themes and the difficulties of how people who have left their home countries for a better opportunity and captures what has happened to them after they have changed their life, how the change affected and got affected by their identity and communication. First, I will talk about my theory and my research focus. Second, I will talk about my methodology. Third, I will provide my analysis. Last, I will provide you implication and recommendation. Let's start by talking about the theories I used in my research and why it is important to me and to the literature. Now, I will talk about my presentation, an autoethnography of a Turkish student living in Little Rock. Now I talk about case context. First, the experience of brain migration. Second, difficulties of communication, the change their identity, and the environmental adaptation. I'll talk about. Okay, I will talk about now. I would like to first start with what is brain migration. Brain migration happens to people are not satisfied with their current situation. They want to have a better life, a life they cannot find they where currently are. They might want a better life for their kids, for their job, or for their family generally. They might find a better job, school, opportunity, and they might brain drain to another country. Okay, now I will talk about theory concepts. There is a two theory concept. First, according to Kim YY, cross-cultural adaptation theory. Second, according to Prue H 2015, intercultural communication theory. Now, cross-cultural adaptation theory is one of the major part of my research. This theory examines, explain the natural human tendency and to have troubles and struggles. When there is a change in the environment, they are used to multiple strengths that are at the same time of the work encompassing the communication interface between the individual and the host environment from the states of the environment and the ethnic and individual. Inclination of the person in the same situation adaptive accomplishment, the mind because of the openness, strength, and possibility of the individual's identity, which empower individual to overcome even the most seriously in unwelcoming host environments. In different cases, adaptive change may occur in a very small amount for individuals whose ethnic community offers a practically total protection from the facing the host cultural difficulties. Now, beside the cross-cultural theory, I would like to focus on intercultural communication theory, which I will talk about further in my presentation. Okay, I will talk about now cross-cultural adaptation theory 1. Isolation. According to Kim YY, the tendency to separate oneself from the society. 6 years ago, when I came here first in Little Rock, first I enrolled to language school in 3 semesters. I came here, Arkansas, myself came alone, leaving friends behind, came to new cultures, foods different. In the class, we classmates are they are other world from the international students. There is also language problem, and sometimes they not understand your what they said, and is a cultural shock in all of these. And if you don't understand what instructor said, and every week at once we go to the conversation club practicing in our English level. My freshman and sophomore year in information science, I was studying everyone has busy. I don't have also no friends in there. Same as problem with when I was studying the language course. No friends, no group work, dialogue, and also orientation. And I was be unhappy. That is my having a small social network problem in isolation. Next, I will talk about now cross-cultural adaptation theory concept 2, assimilation. According to Kim Y, the isolation and stress leads to assimilation and adaptation. Example, adapting cultural or social habits. When I was my freshman year, I was first my social works working with the Turkish Student Association. I was working there 4 years. First be a member, only I go to the events, and my last 2 years I working the board members. First I was the treasurer 1 semester, and next I be working the 1 semester activity coordinator. And we do our Turkish friends, we back together doing events out of the campus, inviting our friends, also international students and American students. We showing us the Turkish cultural foods and traditions on the special days. And when I was in the French club, I could also in the French club, I remember is working in 2 semesters ago in fall 15. I enrolled the first board member quickly. First I will work the treasurer position. I'm responsible for the club's budgets amount. And my second next became a vice president. I'm still continue for this current position. And then next, mostly we do in the French club, we do only social works like French movie night every month at once. We do French movie night with English subtitle for in French grammar. Second, we do French bake sale every semester in campus afternoon, only 2 hours. And then what's last we do in events is French conversation club. Is mostly we do out of campus. We invite the students who are working member of the French club. That's his work be responsible. I am a second position in the board member. Mostly I do my responsible from those other members. And my last social works, I also working the athletics department, only 1 season. In the fall 15, I working the coaching staff at the Little Rock Trojans soccer team. This is my adapting cultural or social events. Okay, now I will talk about my intercultural communication theory concept 3, personal identity. According to Pew H, collectivism and individualism. The example is the well-being of the group. The personal identity of a society is divided into 2, collectivist and individualist. Individualism refers when individual rights are greater than group itself. That is the right of the freedom, values, and comfort and honesty, which is much important for the individual, and most importantly, individualism involves low context communication. Collectivism refers to the values of individuals in a particular culture to emphasize the identity society. This approach values how many among the group, and also for the distribution of equality in the group. And most importantly, collectivism involves high context communication. In this sense, when one looks at both Turkey and America, as the cultures and the understanding are different from another one approach are also different. While Turkey carries a collectivist identity and America carries individualist identity, both of these theories combined, it will help a reader my research to fulfill the necessary components to the understanding the reasons behind their brain drain individuals. Now I will talk about my methods. First, I will interview two people, and second, alternography, and third, analysis based on theory. Now I will talk about analysis claim. First, identity transformation. When people go, according to Ferry G, identity transformation grows from the need to adapt. When people go into a new environment, they have adaptation problems. These adaptation problems does not happen until another country. Changing cities can even cause adaptation problem. However, when they change across the countries, culture, society change. And I believe this is the reason why people have trouble. They move outside their comfort zone. They cope with this as a human nature. People transform their identity and they adapt to the new environment, become a part of society. Here I will read Mr. Akiyai have told me during our interview. But my personal opinion, it is never easy to overcome intercultural adjustment issues. Yet it can be still possible if they try hard. With that said, after a certain time, you get used their daily routine, the people around the society, their culture, their habits, their daily routine, so much that I have started the same thing as they do. I guess this is what people call adjustment. Mr. Akiyai interview. Now I will talk about analysis claim second, stereotypes. According to Tinsley C.H. Turan N., stereotype creates difficulty with adjustment. Another problem that comes with the identity issues is stereotypes. Adjustment process can be hard for a lot of people, especially people from Middle East, such as me, Asia, all over the world. We try to create stereotypes for the people that are not from the same culture and society. And this may create problems at work as school as well. In this example, Mr. Akiyai explained how we face some stereotypes problem. Of course, these problems depends on the ideologies and the cultural or society that the person come from. But people like us, people who came from the Middle East, usually face problems such as discrimination or negative comments that will affect their intercultural communication. Mr. Akiyai interviews. My next talk about analysis claim 3, stay duration. According to Tansel and Günger, the amount of time to stay or to leave the host country. According to Tansel and Günger, the probability of the individual returning to the home country decreases depending on the amount of years they stay due to the adaptation, they say. Now I'll talk about limitation and implication. As I have searched in this area of brain migration, I came to the conclusion there has not been many research and papers on why people actually came to the decision of changing their whole life and adopting the new system and culture. They are mostly statistics, which in effect I will surely touch upon of the reason people choose to leave their home opportunities. Mostly main focus of these researches were the economics, and the political reason. However, I would like to discuss both the reason behind their decisions, but also focus more on how they survived afterwards. That is to say, how their change affected their identity, their communication, and their life basically. The limitation of my research is that I have focused only on the relation between Turkey and the United States. Maybe future studies can even have the different perspective to help the literature. I believe this research helps for a better social network by understanding and showing the communication problem brain drain. It can be seen that adaptation and identity transformation is a necessary survival tool for a people go to true brain drain. It can also be seen that brain drain is not very easy for the person who is going to cultural and communication troubles. For that reason, this research has been analyzed through the cultural interaction of a brain drain to help people stay positive. Now I'll talk about recommendation. Communication brings societies, methodologies, nationalities, races, religions, and semantic groups in a web of communication. The differences and the similarities people who have hard to understand and cope. As a human beings, we have a hard time facing the differences. Because of that reason, our experience is very important. While we go to true make us who we are. This affects our brain drain process as well. In order to adapt, we change our identity as I had mentioned before. This process is difficult, but the end will be good. Be patient and be positive. And final, I will talk about now conclusion. Today, we talk about considering all the difficulties people go through to brain migration. I would like to discuss both the reason behind their decision, but also focus more on how they survived afterwards. That is to say, how they affected their identity, their communications, and their life basically. Today we talk about with the cross-cultural adaptation theory and my assumptions combined, it is easy to take the communication barriers between individuals to be a problem. It is not just the countries and they are changing. It is their identity and the consequences they are facing that makes who they are truly. First, we talk about the dynamic way of cross-cultural adaptation and intercultural identity improvement show us an option for a better and smooth adaptation. That is to say, it shows to us we can endeavor to grasp and fuse different and divergent cultural and social aspects into something a new special one that bounds and incorporates as opposed to isolates and separates. Second, we talk about it anticipates the genuine pleasurability of developing a unique sort of identity in which cross-changing of identity it's not a scene and should not be only concept for surrounding an individual's personal and social background. On the contrary, this process should be seen demonstrated as a social aspects for cultural welcoming of identities that the people can easily exchange and adopt without feeling the guilt and discomfort communicated disabilities. Communication and life. Thank you for